always had the ball in her hands. Everybody was playing off of her. She just commanded the whole game. I was like, who the hell is this? She is nice. It was like, oh, she the best player in the country. I was like, oh, damn. I see it now. Like, you know,
right.
Like when you walk in and you don't even know who anybody is, and they just be like, yo, that's the best player in the country right there. It's just like, yo, that shit hits you out of nowhere. Like, let me really focus in on her.
If you ain't in the Steph Curry shape, that's how she plays, bro. She gonna give you more than 10. She can shoot, and she got work, bro. It ain't tough no more. You can't hand check, and if you let a motherfucker wiggle, you feel me? Yeah. Man, she can wiggle. What was she? Matter of fact, was she playing with a women's ball? Women's ball?
Nah, she playing with the NBA ball. She can get 10.
She can still get money in that motherfucker.
I think she can get 10.
I think it's more Steph Curry, man. It's a woman, Steph Curry.
It almost robs her of like the rest of her game because she's such a good floor. She has her overall, floor game. She's racking up close to triple doubles every night, and like her shooting ability is, it's her superpower. But the rest of her game is as polished as that, and so it's must-see TV. And I love what it is done for women's basketball in terms of when she shows up. The seats are filled and there's a different energy.
Ever since its founding in 1996, the WNBA has had several stars like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Cheryl Swoops, and many others. But even though there's no shortage of talent, the league has struggled to be relevant in the wide world of sports. With massive leagues like the NBA, MLB, and NFL dominating the sports scene, the WNBA has had to fight for both viewers and money for many years. But that may soon be changing, thanks to a phenomenal young rookie point guard for the Indiana Fever named Caitlin Clark.
6 on the shot clock. Clark, a deep three!
She's revolutionizing women's basketball. She's a truly special talent that raises the standard of the sport. But don't just take our word for it. Hear what other NBA legends are saying about the electrifying young rookie from Iowa.
She's phenomenal.
Starting with the greatest shooter of all time, Steph 2.0? Okay, let's face it, nobody is going to be a copy of Steph Curry. He's the greatest shooter in basketball history. He's one of a kind. He's probably the only player ever to be able to consistently sink a bucket from practically anywhere on the floor. But Caitlin Clark is earning comparison to Steph for her playing style. Her impact on the floor is already showing up in spades. Even though she's in the middle of her rookie season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has that same shooter's mentality that Steph has. While some might see this playing style as just jacking up shots, both Steph and Caitlin have supreme confidence in their ability to hit from downtown. Here's just a glimpse of her shooting range.
Already at 10, looking to tie last year's winning record.
Clark from way downtown. So that's really the difference in the game right now. Clark leaning and hitting. Wow.
Caitlin doesn't even hesitate when she sees an opening, whether that's driving into the paint, just beyond the arc, or from way downtown. But even though she's being compared to Steph Curry, the baby-faced assassin himself chimed in. He thinks it's unfair for Clark to be known just for her skills as a shooter.
You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, pretty much identical to mine. The flair, like, she's a performer. It's crazy, though, just because her shot it's like that, it's at that level. But if you really watch, like, her floor game is as impressive, so it's kind of the total package. Her being the fringe of breaking that record and the amount of attention that she has gained over the course of these last couple of years. Every building she goes into, there's a different energy. Like, it's great for her, great for women's basketball.
Steph's right. While Clark is known and feared for her ability as a long-range shooter, she is solid in other areas of her game too. She gets her teammates involved by dishing to them, and she can also kick off fast breaks going the other way.
Clark eyes up. Bounces to Boston. Boston one-on-one with Jones will flip it in. Nelson Adota trying to save it and does. And now Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from three, will dip inside and lay it in. There are the first points in the WNBA career of Caitlin Clark.
Everyone has something to say about Caitlin Clark and her impact. Along with Steph Curry's comments about her earlier in the video, several other basketball legends have weighed in on what she means to the game. Shortly after Caitlin wrapped up her career at Iowa, Big Diesel himself spoke up. Shaq went on the record, and what he thought about her couldn't have been more clear.
Apparently you are. Yeah, but she's incredible. Congratulations to her and her family. Yeah. Like the crazy thing is I'm just seeing her last year when they played LSU, but she's phenomenal. I'm going to go on the record and say she's the best female collegiate player ever.
Even King James himself chimed in during the 2024 national championship game between Iowa and South Carolina. But beyond that, LeBron was also genuinely thrilled for what Caitlin Clark brings to the game and had some advice for her as well. He also had to deal with similar attention when he was a rookie for the Cavs back in 2003. But for all the praise Clark is getting from current and former NBA players, it's the exact opposite when it comes to some of her WNBA counterparts. Legends like Diana Taurasi and Cheryl Swoops are skeptical that the Fever's young rookie can become the future face of the league. Before Clark turned pro, Taurasi warned her that her style of play may not work in the WNBA for two reasons: physicality and Clark's lack of experience playing in the pro game.
Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie, and it might take a little bit longer for some people.
While Diana Taurasi's take on Clark makes logical sense, Cheryl Swoops' comments on Caitlin breaking the NCAA scoring record doesn't add up.
If it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record.
Many commentators were quick to criticize Swoops and also said that she disliked Clark because of her race. The backlash was so bad that Swoops had to come out and clarify her comments. But the WNBA legend may have dug herself an even deeper hole. Take a listen.
I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna be done with this whole conversation. So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, black people can't be racist, but that's the farthest thing from my mind.
What do you think? Does Swoops have a point in what she said, or is it all sour grapes? Caitlin Clark is an electrifying young player with an amazingly polished skill set at just 22 years old. But there's more to her than what she does on the hardwood. She's gaining fans by how she carries herself off the court as well. In a world full of social media influencers and larger-than-life celebrities, society is full of people who aren't being themselves, they're fake. It's a breath of fresh air whenever someone comes along that is genuine and real with people. That's exactly how Caitlin Clark is, especially when it comes to fans who watch her play in person. After Iowa won the Big Ten championship, she could have headed directly to the locker room to celebrate with her teammates, but she did this instead. Players sometimes stay after games to sign autographs, but how often do you see them do what Caitlin did? She immediately went over to two little girls and autographed their sign and shirt without being asked. She made their day. Not only does Caitlin Clark take time to interact with fans whenever she can, she also aims to touch people's lives through her own foundation. The Caitlin Clark Foundation focuses on helping children through sports, nutrition, and education. Caitlin believes in these three things as fundamental to her success in life, and wants kids to know how healthy habits and relationships can make a positive difference in their lives too. On the Foundation's website, there currently are several programs going on that reflect Caitlin's values, such as a clothing donation drive, a sports equipment donation drive, a food pantry, and her own signature cereal, Caitlin's Crunch Time. It's probably tough remaining humble when you're a world-famous athlete, especially when you're still getting used to superstardom. But Caitlin seems to still be grounded in helping others and just doing the best she can on the court. This is why so many people love her for more than what she can do with a basketball in her hands. She doesn't see herself as being above anyone else. She's not cocky, brash, loud, or arrogant. She simply focuses on being the best teammate and person she can be, day in and day out. It may sound cliche, but Caitlin Clark may just be America's sweetheart. In a world full of fake people, carefully polished social media pages, and celebrities caked in makeup, everyone appreciates someone who's real and genuine, and Caitlin Clark is as real as they come. And because she's a genuine person and extremely talented, people all over the world follow her every move on and off the court. She's like the Pied Piper of women's basketball right now. There are talented players in the WNBA today, but only Caitlin Clark seems to have drawn people to the game. People are buying tickets to Indiana Fever games at a record pace. Or they're at home with their eyeballs glued to their TVs. There's a name for the sudden interest in the WNBA, the Caitlin Clark effect. What is the Caitlin Clark effect? It's no secret that the WNBA and women's basketball have struggled to put up the same viewership and money numbers as men's basketball and the NBA. The players in each sport are all extremely talented, but people just weren't as interested. As a result, ticket prices were cheaper for women's games than men's games, and viewership was struggling to gain traction. Some on social media would make fun of women's basketball for this too. But once Caitlin Clark exploded onto the scene and brought her unique playing style to the hardwood, she immediately got people's attention. Arenas were filled, TV viewership went way up. People were paying more attention to this talented young girl from Des Moines than anyone else in the basketball world. And this all began way before she was ever drafted #1 overall by the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark got the entire country's attention throughout the 2023 women's college basketball season. That year, she led her Iowa Hawkeyes to the national championship game against Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers. Although Iowa ended up losing to Reese and LSU, that game drew nearly 10 million viewers, making it the most watched women's college basketball game ever. But if you thought a lot of people watched that game, let me drop some 2024 numbers for you. Iowa's 2024 tournament games against LSU and UConn each had well over 12 million viewers. And when the Hawkeyes made a return trip to the national championship game against South Carolina, it drew an eye-popping 18.9 million viewers. This was not only the new record for the most watched women's college basketball game of all time, it was also the most watched basketball game of any kind since 2019. Not only that, the 2024 national championship game was also the first time the women's title game had more viewers than the men's title game. The Caitlin Clark effect was in full swing, and it hasn't slowed down or stopped ever since.
I mean, the obvious answer is Caitlin Clark, but let me tell you something. Before I get to her, I was mesmerized by her. And I will tell you this. This was the greatest performance I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, girl or boy.
But the truth didn't stop there. His further comments created a media frenzy. He bluntly just shared his admiration for Clark's dominance, adding,
"We saw a white girl in Iowa do it to a bunch of black girls."
Well, of course.
That made it like, oh, that gained my respect. That's like, oh, she didn't do this to some other little white girls that was over here in Colorado, wherever. She did it to some girls from LSU who we thought was some dogs.
Defending champs,
and put them on their knee and spanked them.
When the 2024 WNBA draft was televised from Brooklyn, New York, nearly 2.5 million people tuned in to watch the Indiana Fever take Caitlin Clark #1 overall. This was the most watched WNBA draft in history and the most watched WNBA broadcast since 2000. The numbers just kept exploding from there. When Caitlin Clark made her debut for the Indiana Fever against the Connecticut Sun, it became the most watched WNBA game since 2002. When Clark played in a May 18 game against the New York Liberty, it broke the league's viewership record on ABC with 1.71 million viewers. Along with generating millions of viewers for college basketball and the WNBA, Caitlin Clark also generates one thing women's basketball can't get enough of: money. Several of her games were sold out when she played for Iowa. When she broke the NCAA Division I scoring record against Ohio State, it ended up being the most expensive women's college basketball game ever. The average ticket was just over $400. Caitlin Clark not only made the NCAA a lot of money in ticket sales, but she also made a lot of money for the state of Iowa as a whole. In March 2024 alone, it's estimated that she generated nearly $83 million in consumer spending. After Caitlin Clark went pro with the Indiana Fever, the money followed her there. In fact, it followed her everywhere she went. After only her first month in the league, the Sparks, Liberty, and Storm each reported attendance records while hosting Clark and the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA, women's basketball, and the sport of basketball is undeniable. In fact, her impact on her league may end up being so great that she'll eventually be in the similar light to Michael Jordan or Larry Bird. Both Larry and MJ played pivotal roles in reviving the NBA and taking it to new heights. The hype surrounding Michael Jordan was so great, not only did he earn several big-time endorsements, but he also helped the NBA go global in the 90s during his prime years. Larry Bird played his part in saving the NBA due to his famous rivalry with Earvin Magic Johnson. Those two squared off in the 1979 NCAA championship game in college, and their rivalry continued once they were drafted by the Celtics and Lakers. When Larry squared off against Magic and the Showtime Lakers in the 1980s, the league was split right down the middle. Larry led blue-collar Boston with a tough, hard-nosed playing style, while Magic led glamorous LA with a silky smooth game. This kind of rivalry may even be growing in the WNBA between Caitlin Clark and her rival Angel Reese. The similarities to Bird versus Magic are definitely there. The two squared off in two of the biggest women's college basketball games of all time, not to mention their personalities are polar opposites to each other. While Clark is the quiet, soft-spoken girl from Des Moines, Iowa, Reese is from Randallstown, Maryland. She's also loud, unfiltered, and likes to get up close and personal when she competes. Time will tell if Clark versus Reese will develop into Bird versus Magic 2.0, but it's certainly good for the WNBA. Even Magic Johnson himself thinks so.
Magic, do you think that the WNBA should do more to protect their big stars like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark?
They're doing good.
They're doing good?
No, I'm too tight. I'm going to fall over. Caitlin and Angel are doing good.
Do you feel like they should do something about Caitlin Clark getting knocked around the court all the time?
It's all going to work itself out.
Yeah, any advice for the young superstars?
Just keep playing.
Keep playing?
They're playing great. They're doing great things for the league.
Yeah?
Here's a blue.
Here's the ball.
Yeah.
Just right there in the bill, please. Thank you, Magic.
What do you think of
Angel's been great.
Thank you.
Along with helping to grow the women's pro game, though, Caitlin Clark serves as something else, a role model, inspiration to kids everywhere. Remember back when you were a kid, who was your favorite basketball player growing up? Did you imagine that you were them, draining threes at the buzzer in your driveway? Many of the NBA's greatest legends inspired kids just like this. Some of these kids even grew up to be current NBA superstars. No matter if it was MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Larry, Magic, or someone else, every single one of these legends were and still are role models to people. And Caitlin Clark is now that same role model for today's generation. Even though Clark is still very young at 22 years old, she's already a great ambassador for the game of basketball. If she continues to grow and get better as a professional player, her career will no doubt inspire this generation of kids to shoot for their own dreams. Clark is a rookie with a lot of well-deserved hype right now. But if she goes from being a hyped rookie to a perennial all-star to a WNBA champion, that will do wonders for not just the league, but inspiring young girls all over the world. For all we know, a future WNBA legend could very well be practicing in her own driveway right now, thanks to Caitlin Clark. There are many talented basketball players in the NBA and WNBA. Even the players on the bench are the best in the world at what they do. But an extremely small number of these players can help the sport grow and evolve. The ones who are talented enough to do these things are once-in-a-generation players, and they're respected and looked up to for that exact reason. Caitlin Clark hasn't become one of those players just yet, but she's threatening to break through and become the face of the league with every game she plays. Right now, she's an unstoppable force of nature. If she can continue to grow, adjust, and learn how to adapt to the WNBA, no one truly knows what her ceiling is. She shoots like Steph Curry, has a mentality like Larry Bird, smoothness like Magic Johnson, and can draw endorsements and support like Michael Jordan. Not only that, but she's one of the most likable athletes in sports right now. And when all these qualities are wrapped up in one, she's a dream for fans and sports marketers, while being a nightmare for anyone who plays against her. Caitlin Clark has come a long way from when she first picked up a basketball at 5 years old. She's grown by leaps and bounds from being the lone girl in boys-only rec leagues. She's gone from being a scoring machine in high school and college to having practically limitless potential as one of the best basketball players in the world today. But beyond that, she's someone who people can genuinely look up to and aspire to be like, both on and off the court. In a world full of Kardashians, Cardi B's, and Beyoncé's, there's only one Caitlin Clark. Do you agree? Is Caitlin Clark really that special? Or is she just another hyped player poised to burn out? Sound off in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out other great videos here and smash the like and subscribe buttons. And as always, thanks for watching.